This is included in the asset management plan, and in the one that has about 30 tabs in it, the way that it's summarized is summarized as a new category, 3930, and this is the exact summary that was in the RCAP program.
So
the detail is in that.
4 new line items, right?
Yes.
And
Okay.
2 of those line items, there's a tab on there that actually spells out everything on it. Like you can even see this on the one you pull up on the
Okay.
website that we made available. It's the SLA, is that, and PMP,
Okay,
are the 2.
so just in summary, all of the expenses that are gonna come out of that RCAP plan will be coded 3930.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, even things that we would have normally, when we first started, we were starting to put it all into the capital improvements, and then we realized whenever he did the rate analysis, it already had it carved out into individual funds. for
Okay.
everything.
okay, I like that they're numbered so that you can easily separate that, so I'll like that. And then, will the additional, employee also with the valve, will that be in that same code, or will that be in a different?
That's in the P maintenance?
The PMP, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the higher one.
Okay,
That's not until 22, right?
Correct. That will be in 22. These were just portions of numbers that were 3 months worth of
What it said for
expected
21.
expense.
okay. So you just prorated those amounts for, okay.
Yes.
All right, got it. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Second thing is that you have received your July financial statements. They are on.
Hang on a second, John. Entertain a motion to give favorable recommendation to 2152. Got a motion by Bob,
Yeah.
Second.
and a second by Craig. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ordinance 2152 gets favorable recommendation. Go ahead, John.
Second thing is that you will notice on your desks, there is the July financial statements. If someone could accept those during the regular meeting. Third thing I'd like to bring up, second item under miscellaneous, is our 2020 audit. We'll have a exit conference on September 2nd at 3 p.m.
What day?
September 2nd at 3 p.m. I imagine that will be in the fishbowl. I think council will be pleased with the audit.
Is that code for we gotta make you another plaque?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And then the final thing that I just kind of wanted to update council on, our current financial software, which is what we use as eGov through SSI. It's 12 years old. They have updated from eGov to something called VIP. That's several years old. But in asking them about the VIP versus the the eGov, it's supposed to be more of an encompassing software program. We are also looking at software from another company called Tyler Technologies. 12-year-old software, and with SSI and having conversation with them, about 30% of their customers now are using eGov, 70% are using the VIP. Once again, we are on eGov. So at some point, and they were even as blatant as to say, when the people that are here that retire, that have been being your customer support with eGov, there will no longer be customer support for eGov. So really trying to look to gather information at some time in the future. Would like to present that to council just to say, once again, our software is 12 years old. It's functional, it's doing what it needs to do. We understand it. We still call customer support on a weekly basis to work through issues. That's why we're wanting to do a comparison between the software solutions and Tyler Technologies.
John, is that something you'll be looking at for next year, you think?
It depends on how long it takes to satisfy our questions. Certainly this would be something that we are going to be well versed on the pros and cons of both of them before we even talk. I would like to see it maybe in next year, but it may be pushed back further.
When we might have an upcoming budget workshop,
Yes.
could you include some financials regarding that?
How do you mean that?
Like an estimate of cost?
Yes, I would. And once again, in our initial conversation with Tyler Technologies today, I had told them, I said, this will be a lengthy process because it's not just the finance department making a decision. There's payroll, there's utility billing, there's income tax, and everyone I would think would want to be on the same page of which direction we would like to move. Even though we are the centralized collection point, if it's something that the utility department does not feel as though it best suits the interest of the residents, then that kind of kills it. It has to, I think it should be something that's fully supported by all users.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for filling in. Any motion for your final? Yeah. So I'll just name and Bob second. All in favor, aye. Finance is adjourned. We have 4 minutes. All right.
Heavenly Father, gracious God, we come before you this afternoon in all humbleness. We ask, Lord, for your blessings on this city council meeting, that their deliberations may be done in your honor and in your glory and guided by you. We ask your blessings on the mayor, Sam Cramblett, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Cleary, Ms. Rist, Mr. Klein, Mr. Hawk, Mr. Haney, Mr. Pierce, and the clerk, Sister Marta. We never call her name, but we know that she works real hard. We ask, Lord, that all who come before this board be blessed, be clear, and be working for the betterment of the city of Ironton. We ask that you will keep us in the hollow of your hand and that you will continue to shine your glory and your mercy on the city of Ironton. In the name of Jesus, we pray and give thanks. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Cleary.
Here.
Hardee's.
Here.
Hany.
Here.
Hawk. Klein.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Riss.
Mr. Hawk had a prior engagement tonight, contacted me, apologized for his not being here, but had a previous engagement. Also, I'm on call for my employer, so if I have to step out, it's to take a call, but I'll be right back in. Just wanted to warn everyone. Next is the approval of minutes, and we have our regular council meeting of August 12th, 2021. The Strategic Planning Committee meeting minutes of August 17th, 2021. The Recreation Committee meeting minutes of August 17th, 2021. Are there any errors, Chris?
Parks and Rec meeting, in the first or second sentence, it says Brett Freeman. I may have said that just from, out of habit, but it's Beth Campbell. That's all I had.
She answers the heater. Any other errors, omissions, additions to the minutes? Hearing none, those will stand as approved with the exception of Mr. Haney's. Next is audience participation. With this evening, we have an invited guest, and then if others would like to address Ironton City Council, they may do so. But Jeremy from LADC, you're here for a quarterly update.
Great, good evening, everyone. So of course we have seen the new demographic data for population for the county, and we saw in the last 10 years that Lawrence County as a whole, we shrank 6.7%. The city of Ironton, we saw shrink 5%, which is realistically very close to the city of Huntington, which shrank 4.7%. We saw other communities like Portsmouth had a decline of 10%. So again, in the last 10 years, we continue to lose population of the tri-state and of the region. So again, that data just now rolling out, and we'll get more demographical data about population density, ages, et cetera, to kind of give us more of a snapshot of what's taking place, hopefully here in the next quarter or so with that data and demographics. Of course, we have a lot of partners, projects with Sam in the city right now. Of course, we're still in partnership with the Lawrence Street project. Of course, we really have Ralph Klein and Dr. Dingus heading that project as we look at our sports complex, how we can develop that area. Of course, we continue to have progress meetings and planning meetings to get our ultimate design and our layouts and form and function together for that. And again, in time, we will come to the City Council for consideration of annexation of the property as we move forward. But we still have a tremendous amount of planning and work to do before we get to that stage. Of course, LEDC, we do have the US EPA Brownfield Assessment Grant, and we currently are tackling the Ironton Iron property with a large portion of that property. Currently, we have allocated, as of this stage, approximately $60,000 for us to try to get the environmental testing because of the data we were seeing. Currently, we're taking that with our consultant SME, we're putting that to the mathematical model. We know from our preliminary testing that of the 5 locations, 4 tested extremely well and 1 did not. So we're looking now at trying, once the mathematical model is completed, we'll look at trying to change the covenant on the property to limit it to a smaller section of the property instead of the whole 20-acre property that it currently encompasses. So we continue on with that activity. This project will last all throughout the whole year because once we get done, we've already been in touch with the Ohio EPA. Of course, we have to pay the Ohio EPA as part of our fees and assessments, and they have a grant from the US EPA. So the US EPA has helped us with the state and the assistance for the Ohio EPA director for them to roll in their consultants to review our data and help us come up with a solution to try to remedy some of those requirements and that are hindering the development of that property. We currently are also working with Kratzenberg on his property, the former Gulf Chemical property. Again, it is still contaminated. It has been contaminated for years, and we're looking at trying to obtain some more grant funding from the state or the federal government to help with that cleanup. It is an extensive amount of funds needed to get that property to the next stage. We currently are working with the mayor, and we have 3 retail projects we currently are developing within the city. Of course, we can't go into any details on those projects. But again, we've been very fortunate here in the last couple months with projects, with leads, I guess especially with our construction costs where they are today and how it's driving construction. So again, we're very blessed right now where we are with the leads. We do believe that all 3 of our leads currently are going to develop into fruition. And again, we don't announce projects, we let the businesses announce them. So hopefully, with the help of the mayor, we'll be able to hopefully get those announcements here in the future once we get a little bit further with due diligence and acceptance of the projects. Any questions? If I might say too, sir, the mayor asked me to touch briefly about Brumberg. Of course, Ralph Klein still heads that project for our community as he has for well over a decade. We have been delayed tremendously with COVID. It really affected the job tremendously because of the elevator. The elevator company got delayed, shut down the whole plant and production because of COVID. The elevator is on site. They have finally got caught up to schedule. It anticipated 6 weeks for us to complete the elevator work. We're into that second week of 6 weeks. Hopefully, if everything goes good, 6 to 8 weeks, we should be finishing up with our contracts to get that project closed out to currently where we are. And then we'll look at planning the next phases, but we'll have the roof on, new windows, the new elevator, and we'll be able to, and we'll have the basic electric, and we've fixed all the structural components with the facility, which really was the long lead time and work to the project.
Right, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
The Lawrence Street project with the annexation, is that gonna hurt us with our capital bill request, having two entities?
At this stage, it's not our intent to put that before the board and the mayor for consideration. We just wanted to discuss it as we move forward. That's the intent for the long-term plan of the property.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bob?
Jeremy, over here in the Brumberg building, I presume they got the roof totally replaced?
Yes, sir.
All the bad wood structure that was holding it up, all that's been replaced?
Yes, sir.
So it meets standard now for a good roof, then, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. We have a brand new EPDM rubber roof on the facility. Matter of fact, we installed gutters last week. Matter of fact, I think it was last weekend. So yeah, we have all the structural components of the building completed, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Nate?
I had 2 things. First, the spec building up here in the south end of town looks great. I thought it was a great project and a build like that with Vertiv. So you guys did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
I think constructing that and meeting their needs. Do you see any future demand in spec buildings for South Ironton, or anticipate LADC trying to develop something new in the near future?
Yes, sir. So it is our hope and intent to get the Ironton Iron property into a position to do that. Of course, with the environmental issues, it makes the property less bankable, and it creates a lot of obstacles for the property value-wise and match-wise. Because we still need 20% cash when we go for financing, and we typically use land for equity. And that property currently, in its value, it will not assist me in that process.
Okay.
So it is our intent and our hope to get that property cleaned up, and then to try to roll out. We do have a design for it already.
Okay.
So that is our intent.
Do you have any type of tentative timeline based on, I know you said it's going to be what'd you say, it's gonna be a little time with the cleanup on it, right?
Right.
Do you have any timeline as far as the design, releasing any of that, or?
We do not. First off, we got to get to the environmental first.
Okay.
Again, we'll have the reports now, then we'll have to submit that to the EPA. Hopefully, we won't have additional cleanup activities, but we have to get the property completely clean or cleaned off, certain sections, the covenants, to help us really make the property valuable for that. We know what we're looking for there for our concept. We have a really good idea. But I can't give any timeframes until we can get, and again, you guys have been partners through a lot of these, and you know our cleanup activities take years.
Right.
We've been on this one for years.
Right.
And so we're continue to work through that, but I can't honestly give a timeline, sir, especially given our construction costs. If you look at still building packages, we're up 64% since the first of the year, and it's not good business for us to build a spec right now. I can't get my money out of it. And therefore, we can't continue with the spec building program. If we invest in a property that we can't get our money back out of or turn, then we are stationary because we have all of our cash and equity tied up. So we have to be able to turn the project to get the next project started. So we have to be careful, and we can't hit it at a time right now with our construction costs being so high.
Okay.
But again, it is our intent, sir.
Okay.
Chris?
You said that some of the land on that property is acceptable through the EPA, right?
It will be.
Is there any way you could possibly pass along some type of aerial view of that property and kind of give us an idea of the property that is, acceptable and the property that's in danger of?
So right now, the covenant exists on the entire piece of property. So it is our plan, as of we know the 5 spots that were identified in the cleanup previously. We know where those 5 areas are. We have tested those areas recently in our new testing. Of those 5 areas, 4 of them came back acceptable per the US and EPA standards. So it's our focus is to get that cleaned up and condensed to one section that's hot, we call it.
Okay.
So at this stage, it's the whole property. So I can't provide you a map. So it's our intent and our focus design-wise and plan-wise to get it condensed and keep the covenant and restrictions on a certain portion of the property and free the mass majority of it. So once we can get to that stage, we'll definitely share, but at this
Right.
stage, it's everything.
So right now it would be considered one parcel?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's one piece, and the covenant affects everything.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Nate?
Sorry, Jerry. Thanks again for coming. I did have one other question. The new development of the counseling center on South 4th Street.
Yes, sir.
I was trying to track down someone to discuss their operations or business plans for that facility.
Mhm.
And Sam suggested I talk to Bill about it. I know he's not here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Do you happen to have that contact?
I don't have it handy, but we can get it for you and we can send it to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Others would like to address the Ironton City Council this evening? Mayor?
I got a few updates. One, I submitted the communication. I don't know how much of that you read last time. But we did have the Andersons look over the bid package for the SBA cell tower. We're going to move ahead with that as planned. Where to start? Okay.
I read the whole thing to him.
Okay, good, verbatim. So I've been meeting with a group for the flood wall murals. We're kind of getting to a place where we've met with a world-renowned artist that does them all over the country. I wanted to bring it to you all, and I don't see why any of us would have an issue with it, but they were starting their fundraising package, and instead of, just throwing out a number to them, I said, whatever that you can fundraise, we would match 10% on funding these murals that we're looking to move forward with. I'll give you more updates when we start to move forward. It's going to be a few weeks until we meet with this guy again, but it's moving along pretty well. I don't know how many meetings ago it was. We were talking about street department. I think it was when we were looking at part-timers. John was mentioning that our overtime budget and that was way over. I told you about the winter storms that we had kind of exhausted us. Was working with John Vaughn. We have submitted for $38,000 to FEMA for reimbursement. We received $26,000 that will be putting back into that fund. I know that police and fire had quite a chunk as well for road safety, but the majority of that was street department labor overtime. So the pickleball courts are moving along pretty quickly, looking really good. I don't know if anyone's been down there to see it yet. It's not completed yet. We had them go ahead and surface it. As you can see, it's a very nice surface they put over top of that asphalt. And I wanted to let you know that I went ahead and made the decision today to go ahead and do a basketball court just like that. So it'll be a very nice basketball court we have there too. It's going to cost us $7,000 to do that. I feel like we could find that, multiple places. So I think you guys will be really proud of what that looks like when that project's finished. Met with Kiowa a couple days ago to discuss the paving project that we're working on. They're 2 weeks out from having all of the data that they've been working on. A suggestion was made because the federal funds for Kiowa are not made available until 24, so our paving project that we do internally is obviously we don't have that kind of time with the bond restrictions. But however, what we Kevin Wood and I talking with them decided on the best thing that we can do is a preliminary design of all of our streets. It's around $50,000, but it's going to give us the cost on each individual street. It's also going to tell us which streets are eligible for federal funding down the road that we can work on. That way we can prioritize our paving on the roads that do not qualify for any type of grant funding. That way we can stretch this money out as much as we possibly can. I don't know how much Kevin told you about the bridge project last time you were here. Did he speak on that? Yeah. Did he happen to tell you the common, well, Jeremy's not in here, the common theme around construction these days, that the cost went up on that about $300,000. So that's still, I think, is a 5 or 10% match that we have. So we'll see that number. I think it was around 400,000 or 500,000 we anticipated. It's probably going to increase a little bit, but they're getting us the final engineer's cost estimate on that. Met with AVM this morning. All materials for lighting is in, and they will start the project September 6th, and we'll be doing the fire department first, probably the water department second, or city building is going to be the tougher one to tackle with all with the court, police department, finance, water, retail, all that stuff. So we're going to have to work around all of that. And that's all the big updates I have. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Did you say that before we move forward with the flood wall mural thing, that you're meeting with the artist or somebody else?
No, we've been meeting with the group. So the group members were Rick Jansen, Joe Unger, Joe's wife, Abby Amanda from the Vault. Ralph Klein was with us last time. He wasn't able, I think he might have been sick yesterday, but Brad Bear, Marty Conley.
I was asking because in our last workshop, Mike was talking about future things and was talking about a push towards getting some things with the arts. And when you talked about
Oh, yeah.
I thought that tied in well. And if we get a chance to talk to that artist, maybe get Mike involved just because he has a passion for that. So.
Yeah, we're still kind of working with them on deciding like the route we go. We know we'll leave the welcome to Ironton, and then it's kind of up in the air, like doing part of it history, part of it modern art that people come to take pictures of from all over the place. So that's all still kind of being worked out in the kinks. I
You did
just
say part of football too, right? Somewhere in there.
I think Joe wanted St. Joe football. I'm
matters.
kidding.
As long as they're-
No,
as long as
tanks.
they're
Ironton tanks was
All right.
that's what we were holding on to, was the historical. And I said, well, I'm all for the tanks too to be on there. So, because Portsmouth has their Spartans. But
Chris?
I was wondering about the murals. I got two things actually. So just kind of, is there restoration of any of it, or is it totally changing?
yeah, I don't. So this guy, like I said, I wish I could show you what some of his work. He's got this 28-story saxophone in New Orleans that actually looks like a real saxophone. It's like that good. So you're talking like on the low end of 20, 40, 50, $80,000 for these murals that he does. So we might just look at trying to do one or however, whatever they can fundraise.
All right.
But I do think bringing at least one of those, kind of staple
Yeah.
there, because people travel. He did all of Portsmouth, if you guys have seen Portsmouth's murals. And some in Catlettsburg recently too.
Good deal. Also, I'm glad you included the basketball court on that. I don't know why I thought we were including that anyway, but I'm glad you did. The only complaint I have is we didn't get rid of the double rims. It's kind of like shooting.
That's so I can dunk on them.
So, anybody that's ever played on double rims in the basketball court knows what I'm talking about.
You brick a lot.
Right, Beth?
Yeah.
You speak for yourself, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Beth?
I have some audience participation, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Okay, I had Tanya and Mike Guy contact me from 1636 Carl Drive. They said they contacted the mayor's office. The people that live across the street at 1640 live in Florida, and the trees are on top of the road and hanging over their cars when they're driving to their house.
Yeah, there's a lot right now where we've had a lot of rain. A lot of the trees are starting to sink down, so we've had to go and trim quite a bit around town. So we'll get that to Mike and make sure.
Then I had another one that contacted me on Facebook, and everybody got involved in that one. I'm sure you can see it. Carla Swartzwetter at 2439 South 8th Street.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, yeah, she contacted
But she didn't
me
contact
on
us
Facebook.
on that, but it is what it is. She contacts us over the winter about a bunch of, that one wasn't grass, it was couches and stuff. They got that cleaned up. But when I checked with Mark on the grass thing, he said it's just now at the level of violation.
Okay.
But we've got a ton of them. I mean, after it rained for 2 weeks and then the sun's out, and then, I don't want to go too in detail, but our contractors being quarantined and all kinds of stuff going on with that. So, but it's now been flagged, at least.
Okay, thank you.
Nate?
Had a few things here, Mayor. First of all, I did get to see the pickleball courts, and they look awesome. I think when the nets get on, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Could we do something to kind of, I don't want to say grand opening or grand reopening, kick that off, because that pickleball is kind of a culture.
Absolutely.
And there's people like across the river that I think we could attract here if we could get the word out
Yes.
about it opening up.
I spoke with Joseph Payton today actually about it, because he did a story on it, and we're planning on, I said, it's all coming along, but let's wait till it's all ready, and then you can come follow up on the story, to see what's been done so far.
Okay. Next thing I had on here, I've had some residents ask about, will the city be able to start just a notification system to let them know of something happening?
Yeah, we can.
Water break, boil water advisory.
Yeah, I would like to
chemical
do that
spill.
too.
I know they have it like at school where I work, and it's one of those, if you subscribe, you can, and you don't have to leave a message, it's just a short text,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, you've talked to some folks on that, right? Yeah, that's something we'd like to do. If
Okay.
you guys are interested, we can get the software
I would like.
and do a meeting with you guys and see what you guys think about. I think it's pretty expensive, right?
Depends on what system you use. Like if you use One Call, it's brand name, it's pretty expensive, but there's some other, like Ohio University
Okay.
Next, on the flood wall, on the walking paths, how they had it whenever the contractor did it, the grade on it's different at the top. Do we need some sort of specialized equipment to maintain that, or will our current
Yeah.
current mowers handle it?
That one spot, like halfway down past the overpass, it really needs to be filled back, and that's something Mike's been working the core on, because we're
Okay.
not really allowed to talk. Once you do the structure, it's kind of hard, like doing any type of thing with that structure.
Okay.
But that is something Mike's been very, you
Okay.
know, he's had to have them weed eat that pretty much, which, you know, we have the zero gravity mowers that we bought
Right.
last year that work really well in the other steep areas, but that one is one that's, it's very steep.
Okay. I didn't know if there was another special piece of equipment that might be accommodating to.
Yeah,
make sure
if we
that's-
have to look at doing that long-term,
Yeah.
but I think the best option is to fill that grade, you
Okay.
know, if we can get the permit from the Corps.
Okay.
And wasn't that, like, the contractor that did it, wasn't, I mean, it wasn't designed to be like that, correct?
I don't know, I've heard all kinds of things about that project.
Okay. Sorry.
Next, I know we're short-staffed on, street employees, but, I've also heard some concerns as far as, markings, from curb back, so that cars can sit back from the curb, so people can see turning in and out of streets. That's a big concern. I've heard, down at Fifth and Ellison, that they're parking too close on the side streets to the main streets. So if we could just mark those yellow, just put a yellow paint stripe on it. I think,
It's like
I think
that,
maybe Kevin might have done something with his crews at some point to mark those.
Yeah.
I think that's something he's really.
you talking about painting the curbs?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get a grievance on that. We'll have to have the
I think-
union do it.
We had that discussion prior to the last time, and they were happy to have the help. I know we're in a different position right now.
They literally brought that up to me in a union
Okay.
meeting,
All
so.
right.
Okay.
Well, we
But
got their
we could-
blessing on it the first time.
We could do it, we can do that, cause there's a Fifth and Park right down here, I'm like risking my life every time I go right on red there, so I get it. There's a bunch of spots like that, and we've done it in some, but it's just as people point them out.
Yeah.
So Fifth and Ellison,
Yes.
is that the one, or is there any other?
That's one I've heard, but I've heard others just in general.
Okay,
And the last thing I had was, the fourth floor. I aggravate John all the time about.
yeah, he told me,
about that.
he told me that.
So, I know the majority of the stuff is finance owned, those boxes and everything. I think John's working on that and then quotes, but if there's an interest with your departments and clean that up, a quote, I think it's worth the investment.
Yeah, John and I spoke about this 2 days ago, and the solution, and don't kill me for this, is bringing everybody in on a Saturday when no one's gonna bother us to do anything. So getting the chief, because there's a lot of police stuff up there.
Okay.
There's our stuff, Susan's stuff, John's stuff, water stuff. It's just getting everybody there and just kind of.
600 degrees up there right now.
I know, and I know it's gonna be a job, I get it, but I do believe it's worth the.
So probably,
investment, get a return
what
on
do
it.
you think, late October, we'll try to get up there
Okay.
and do that?
All right, that's all I have, thank you for your time.
All right.
Well, yeah, I only have one last thing. I'm sure everybody's seen the trees being cut down on Second Street between Pearl and Elm. I've had so many questions, and I'd never get close enough after work to see what trucks they are. People
Oh,
are saying
it's
they're- is it
AEP.
City, okay.
They're cutting all over the place, because there's maintenance on the lines and stuff.
Because people, came to me and said, why are they doing it? School just started, why wouldn't they do this before school started, and I was like, I don't know anything about it, let me double check, so I can say
If people just.
for certain that it's 80 feet.
Yeah, people complain about the tree more than that. Usually, it's
Well,
like, get rid of the tree.
Don't they have to contact the mayor's office to give public notice before they shut down?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a monster tree.
Yeah.
Two of them.
It's opened things up, and that causes a lot of that. Have you seen how the road is right there? It's really bad because of it. But yeah, those trees need to be gone.
Good deal, appreciate it.
Thanks, Mayor.
Don't tell
Thank you.
Caroline I said that. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, one more thing, Mayor.
Yeah.
And this was a little bit, if you could emphasize this, because I just got confirmation that we are live. The SmartGov software
Yeah.
is up and running.
Yeah,
correct?
and the links are on the website.
If you watched the last meeting, he gave a lot of different direction on that. Could you
Yeah,
if
it's
citizens have a concern about,
So I can walk you through it like in 2 seconds.
okay, if you
I can give
could,
you a full hyperlink.
You pull up your phone, go to your web browser,
okay,
go to irontonohio.org. From that page, well, you guys got slow Wi-Fi in here. Here we go. You're gonna scroll down. Underneath to where it says building and zoning, towards the bottom of the page. Report code enforcement issues here button. It's green.
got it, yeah,
And then you're going to report a concern.
okay,
When you report a concern, you type in your concern. You hit next. And you can do it anonymous, but I recommend if you want to follow it, so you don't have to call us 100 times on it, you can follow the status of where it is, whether it's in legal or whether it's been confirmed to a case, all that status can be followed if you put an email in, at least.
okay.
So,
Mayor, I did have one thing too. That in the communications, the Department of Commerce, Woodland Cemetery memo that we got, is that something that we need to take any action on?
I briefly read that in the minutes.
Bob, I'm on the board up there, and I brought some information in, I can share with everybody when we get to that.
Okay.
Then we'll give it back and let him decide what he wants to do with it.
Okay, yeah, I'm not really up to speed on that.
Thank you.
Is that it? All right.
Anyone else? Moving on to communications, we have the aforementioned Mayor Cranbrook letter that was read at the August 12th, 2021 Ironton City Council meeting with the full hyperlink. Nate, as a side note. Next is the Department of Commerce.
Did you read that all out?
Yes.
Yes,
they did.
twice.
The Department of Commerce memo regarding case number 2021-955 Judith Cornell versus Woodland Cemetery. Bob, you said you had some.
Yeah, I had, sitting up there on the board, we get into a lot of different situations. It seemed like the thing, the veterans area pops up more than what anything else does. But I got this letter, and you know, it's made out of the city of Ironton, and trustees, upper township trustees. And this letters I've got is talking about the, strictly the veterans plots. And I've got the letter here where it was actually September 15th, 1921, so it's almost 100 years old. And it's where it says that the county commissioner of Lawrence County is acting in the city county, purchase a plot of ground in Woodland Cemetery from trustees of the Woodland Cemetery known as American Legion plot. And that gets into all this legal stuff. said the trustees of said Woodland Cemetery are to see the perpetual care and maintenance of said plot, which means we have to cut the grass, we gotta trim the trees, we gotta make sure everything's right. But then, we got this new memorandum for record. It says here that, that the county commission, that it was dated September 15, 1921 by the Lawrence County Commissioner, that the trustees were to take care for and maintenance of the plots. Said that the failure to maintain the plot civil work period for over a month, Lawrence County Commissioners, this is something kind of important, said the Lawrence County Veterans Commission voted on September the 15th, 2020 to hire Pritchard Lawn Care to handle the care and maintenance of the plots starting that day, September 17th. So the county commissioner took that away from us as a cemetery board, and they hired their own people to take care of cutting grass and clean it and all that. And it says here the point of the contact, the memorandum is Tim Carpenter, Lawrence County Veterans Service Officer. And if you read that, ladies, did you all take a minute and read it? And then the last page had in her own writing what she was saying, about a yellow page at the end. And this is all brought about because the veterans, they're taking care of their own property. We no longer taking care of it. So, they've got people hired to do it. So, Tim Carpenter, he decided he's going to remove all the flat veterans memorial. They had not tombstone, but it's grave markers, and they lay flat, which was pretty handy for anybody that's cutting grass or doing whatever, because you don't have to go around them, you can just go ahead and do it. A lot of those are sunk in the ground and covered with grass where you can't even see them. So the Veteran Board, they decided they're going to put these new ones, and we as a board up there had complaints about the new ones, because they're taking the old original ones out. We don't know what they're doing with them, because that's not our, it's nothing to us, because it's their property and they do what they want. But they're taking the old markers out, and they got new ones, and personally, I think they look pretty nice myself. When you drive along the veterans, it's like a shaft that's holding it up, and there's like a name plaque on top of that. So, and it's got the same information the other one did that was buried in the ground. So you drive along, if you're looking for a name, you don't have to walk the cemetery, you can drive around it and see it. But this lady's upset because, the way I read it, because she thinks that being a veterans plot, that they should have to contact all the people that's buried there and get their blessing to remove those other plaques and put the new ones in. And if you read this thing, Tim says to do what he wants, which I thought was pretty bold statement to make somebody that's heartbroken or whatever. But anyway, that's what it's all about. And Matt, I looked this over, and he mentioned to me that he didn't see anything where that property was actually deeded to him, that we may still own the property, but, it's something you have to research and see. So personally, I don't think that the city of Ironton has anything to do with what this lady's talking about. I mean, she filed suit, and if people want her name, we'll probably have to send her some kind of answer.
It's either the cemetery board or the veterans, if that's who it was delegated to.
Yeah.
The city or the township itself has nothing to do with it, other than you're the appointed authority for that board, that the board runs the cemetery.
And those markers
purchased by the federal government. Those aren't even privately purchased.
I think you're right.
Those aren't.
I think the new ones are too, but it's like an upgrade on it. So,
So I don't think we can respond to it.
Okay.
I mean, even the Department of Commerce letter came, it was addressed to the City of Ironton Township, says the attached letter of complaint has been filed with the Division of Real Estate Professional against you as a cemetery operator. We're not the cemetery operator, so he's wrong. I mean, unless we just want to respond and say we don't operate.
that's why I think we should make some kind of response so they don't start trying to file lawsuits and then we gotta go.
We could write, if you want me to, I could write a letter back to them and say,
Yeah.
on behalf of the city and the township, we don't operate it, who
Yeah.
does operate it?
Right.
And we think it's the Veterans Service Officer, or Veterans, whatever. I'm gonna try to find out who it is.
Do we need a recommendation on, to send a letter?
Just need a request from council, Bob, make that request, right? No?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to vote on it, ask, let's do that, you can, miscellaneous or something.
It's fine. Just make that motion in miscellaneous. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else regarding that communication? Reports, there are none. Ordinances, if the clerk could please give ordinance 2150 first reading by title only.
Repealing section 220.03B of the codified ordinances of the city of Ironton, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
If the clerk could please give ordinance 2152 first reading by title only.
Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Bob.
I'd like to mention they got favorable recommendation by the finance committee this evening. I'd like to go ahead and ask to suspend the rules and give it a second, third read by title only.
Beth.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Aye.
The clerk could please give ordinance 2152 second and third reading by title only.
Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Second reading. Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Bob.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2152.
Mike.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Aye.
Ordinance 2152 is adopted. Moving on to resolutions, if the clerk could please give resolution 2151 reading by title only.
A resolution recommending face covers while in the chambers of the Ironton City Council and declaring an emergency.
Chris. Oh. Dr. Beth.
I'd like to make a motion to pass this resolution.
Bob.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
I got a discussion.
Okay.
The way that's written, where it says resolution recommending, that not like making a law or anything.
Correct.
Just recommendation.
Yep.
Okay.
In, the body of the ordinance, or the body of the resolution doesn't say it, but my, email to the solicitors said in lieu, we would ask, does it say it, Mike? I don't think it does, but no, it doesn't, but, it was our recommendation in lieu of a mandate. That's what it said to them, so tried to thread the needle, because there were some strong feelings both ways, and I wanted to make sure that people feel comfortable and protected, but also, have something in place that might have a chance to pass, so. This was my attempt at it. Any other discussion? Chris?
Is there, I know, I mean, a capacity requirement here, or so?
There's not,
Okay.
which is, another reason why I mentioned social distancing in there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Aye.
Resolution 2151 passes.
Thank you.
Miscellaneous. Bob.
Want to mention that we got our Ironton July 2021 financials. Got that. And
You want to make a motion this, those,
I do.
make part of the record?
Yes.
Chris, you second that? Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Aye.
Okay. Also want to make a motion, we ask Mac to address this veterans plot deal that we're looking at.
Chris.
Second.
Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Aye.
Other miscellaneous? Nate?
I'd like to make a motion, to go to executive session, and discuss litigation,
Second.
just brief. No action to follow with the mayor and solicitor.